Thanks, Melina. Thanks, guys, for all being here. It's 5 o'clock. It's August 20th, 2025. This is a work session for town and county, and we have everybody in attendance. So thanks for all being here. Gloria's online and Jim's online. Thanks for joining us. Can you guys hear us okay online? Okay, great. Well, I know some people were like, well, where's the presentation or where's the packet or what are we supposed to read or prepare for? And I think, that's understandable. But I think talking with Gloria, Austin and I had a conversation, and I think we just really wanted to provide an opportunity for these two boards to just have more of a conversation and kind of share what we're working on, share what some of our priorities are. Because we get a lot of great updates and presentations from partners that we both work with. But I think we had heard from all of us that we'd really like a little more informal time just to kind of share some of the latest updates, some of both of our contexts, strategically and from our budget perspective as we all go into budget season. And then thinking about kind of, well, what are some of those joint priorities that we could collaborate better or more on, whether that's funding or capacity or whatever. So that's kind of what we had heard was hoped for this. And I'm happy to kind of facilitate us. But I just kind of wanted to put that out there. And I think kind of a goal here would be to come out with some of the priorities that maybe we would follow up on, whether that means going into budget season and thinking about how that affects our budget, or just saying, hey, these are some key things that we would love some help and insight on, or these are some problems we're all facing. And so that's kind of where I think we can go. Did anybody have anything pressing that they wanted to add or that they were hoping to get out of this today? Sounds good. Great. Okay. All right. So I thought I could kind of kick it off from a town perspective, and obviously any colleagues feel free to jump in, and Gloria, feel free to add. But just Austin and I were chatting, and it was like, we're not always able to attend each other's meetings, right? So it's not like we're all paying exact attention on all of the key priorities that we're working on. So just kind of taking some time to present sort of high level, what are some top projects that the town's working on? What are some maybe priorities as we go into budget season? So we're working on a really big townhouse project. So that's the Silverton Housing Authority, but we're that board. So we're hoping to have 9 townhomes and for sale. And the big kicker is getting them over the pass with the CDOT closures right now, but we're having a really great conversation with CDOT on how to make that happen. So, and I think those would be for sale for qualified applicants through a lottery system later into this year. So that's going to be a really big deal. And if you aren't familiar with that project, that's kind of on the ends of the donut hole. And you guys have heard from Ann, you guys have helped provide funding for that. So I think you're pretty familiar with it because you've been asked for funding to help support it, but that's definitely a big project that we're working on. And then as you all probably have noticed, we're relining the sewer pipes in town. So that's been a big project. I personally have felt like it's been less disruptive than I thought it was going to be. But that's been going pretty well, I think. And that's to address, a variety of cracks that we're having or leaking that we're having. And it's a pretty cool system where they kind of put this polymer through and it hardens. And so dig up all the old pipes. So that's a pretty big project. That's about a $4 million project. And we have half of that through a grant and half of that through a loan. So the loan piece means we have to keep thinking about rates, right? Because we'll have to start paying on that loan in a bit. So those are kind of the two big projects that come top of mind to me for what we're working on. And then obviously replacement of the wastewater treatment plant is a big piece that will be a big price tag. We've been having a lot of conversations with a financial management advisor that we contracted with, who is kind of specialized in like, how do you fund these the best, right? What's the best route for funding these? And then we're working with a number of engineers to think through like scope and scale and like, does this have to be a mechanical plant? Could we do something different that's not quite as expensive? And it affects all of us because obviously that price tag is going to affect what our future rates will be and what type of investment we'll have to make. So future wastewater treatment plant, the big USDA project, we were awarded a grant to put some sidewalks and lighting on Blair Street. So that project is moving forward. Shout out to the Blair Street Association and to staff to really finding the matching funds for that. The town didn't have the matching funds in our budget, but we directed staff to kind of go see what they could get creative with. And they were able to find the 200,000 plus matching funds for that project to move forward. So I think right now what we're doing is putting that out to bid for, we need updated engineering plans because it's a CDOT project. And so it has to be the CDOT specs. So we need updated engineering plans for that, but that is moving forward. Let's see, what else? Those are kind of the big pieces on, I'd say, some of our bigger projects. You guys know we submitted the natural resources damages funding. We got some questions back from the trustees on that. And I think a good conversation. We're hoping that our application is, being well received, which I think it is. And I think when all those folks come for some Bonita Peak site visits later this month, we'll probably be hearing from them. And they'll be wanting clarification or, walk through the project site and stuff. So we've been, from a town perspective, I've been involved in that as far as helping write the grant. And then Gloria, and then we've been working with Jake Kurzweil with MSI for some of the technical pieces. And then Ramble, who's been working with us on some of the brownfield stuff. Other housing stuff, Boxcar Apartments, we're still kind of trying to figure out what that site could look like or do. We had thought it might be an avalanche path, and so is that even buildable? But we commissioned an avalanche study and it's not, but the infrastructure costs could still be quite expensive. So we're kind of thinking through, we have the land, which is great, so that's a site we could build on, but it also could be extremely expensive price-wise. And so does that make sense for the type?
Which piece for that you're talking about?
Say that again?
Which piece of land?
Boxcar Apartments, kind of behind the current apartments over in Anvil.
How about the Zanoni properties?
So the Zanoni parcel is also a piece that's on the Housing Authority priority list. So we did kind of conceptual plan. We got a grant to do some conceptual planning of like, what types of units could we fit there? What size, what mix of, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, single family, townhouse. And then we heard pretty loud and clear from some of the Anvil neighbors and residents that we'd really love some green space over there, right? Like making kind of a place in that neighborhood where kids can play, where there's place for their neighbors to congregate. And so prioritizing a portion of the land for some green space and park. So we have conceptual planning for that. I think in talking with the consultants that we were working with on that project and with Ann's time, that project is a little bit harder to fund. The funding's kind of drying up. Like we were pretty successful with the funding for the 9 townhouses that we're doing through the manufactured building.
Was it only part of a Brownsfield thing? Is that?
Some of the cleanup was.
That's how it started.
Yeah. Well, we were able to purchase it. Gloria, do you want to speak at all to the funding on that? And that project, we've gotten it kind of to a certain point, and then we've now been focusing on getting these townhomes constructed. So it's not.
I can ask Ann where that's at right now, but I don't have that information on me. So I will have to ask Ann about that.
Thanks, Gloria. Yeah. But definitely.
It only might be later, but you're focusing on the townhouse.
Correct.
Yeah.
The one thing that we can add to potentially reducing infrastructure costs to the boxcar is there's a contractor out of Uray that has an interesting piece of equipment, and he was doing work for CDBHE up at Animas Forks, and we did a site visit up there, and he's hoping to come give us a demonstration at Anvil to see how he can dig through that Fair Creek, but it basically is 2 little wheels with bits on it that just cuts into the rock and it's pretty exciting. I mean, it's still expensive, but it's a lot cheaper than any of the other options we've had in the past. Well, we hope that it's
okay.
Work. So
yeah.
I talked to him the other day. He's still trying to come down. It'd be great if he did come down and we're all involved in watching.
Yeah.
Right there up in that.
Yeah, if you guys could stay in touch with, stay in touch with Gloria and Ann. I mean, part of the problems on that site is the slope, the grading, so the amount of like excavating that you might need to do to then site something. So yeah, if you could be in touch
Slope is a problem?
on that part, yeah.
Okay.
To get kind of flat buildable parcel.
And not, promising right here at this meeting, but definitely can talk, with our road and bridge crew,
Yeah.
because a lot of our work for infrastructure was done as in-kind work too,
Uh-huh,
which counts, and
yeah,
have
yeah.
equipment, including a new excavator and the dozers and things like that for grading and slope and stuff like that.
That is great to think through. See, this is why we need to have kind of these informal meetings, because we're like, these are the things we're working on. You're like, hey, these are possibilities.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, okay. Great.
And then for green space stuff too, we've also been getting those concerns from the residents down there and working with it, in terms of looking at things like that. You said funding challenges there. That's getting, like playground equipment, things like that. Is that what we're looking at, or is that?
This was much more high level conceptual. It was like the funding challenges around funding the units. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think we just said, we want this space to be green space, but it's way down the road about what it would actually be. Is it gonna be a swing set? Is it gonna be a slide? Is it gonna be barbecue pit,
Placeholder.
Yeah.
I think we were given like, what, 3 different conceptual plans that are up. I was just looking, it's up on the website, and some have more homes and less green space. And then some have more green space and less homes.
Yeah.
So I was finding that.
a balance. Yeah,
So you've heard from these homeowners also?
yes, yeah.
I want the green space.
Yes, yeah. And again, we all know, like, one tricky part with over there is anytime it's a new neighborhood, there's no landscaping, right? Like when I was a kid and moved in a new neighborhood, there was no landscaping, and much of the properties are privately owned, so there's only so much the town and county can put in. And as a board, with the townhomes we're putting in, we really prioritize putting in units. But there will be landscaping associated with them. So there will be some landscaping, some sidewalks. But we have the most control over the land that we all own, right?
Yeah.
And so we're kind of working on that for the units we're building, and then for Zanoni prioritizing that, it's not gonna be wall-to-wall density. There would be some space for community.
Oh, and again, I mean, you're dealing with the same thing. You're balancing costs because you're trying to make it affordable.
Yeah,
And so the more stuff you add to it.
Yeah.
The less it becomes affordable. And, in our case, when we were selling lots for 10,000 or 30,000
Yeah.
lot, there's no money in there for us
landscaping.
to be doing landscaping or anything. It's to try to get people in there as cheap as possible. So.
And you don't necessarily want a policy decision that says you have to put landscaping in, right? Like, what if someone can't afford to do that?
That's still, I mean, if somebody's struggling to get in on a $10,000 lot and you tell them they gotta spend, 15,000 on landscaping once they get in there.
Yeah.
This
It defeats the
tough to-
purpose.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not saying that it can't be done, but it's a tough one, and I guess, I mean, fortunately, I'm not an elected official, so you can just fire me, but
Thanks, Willie.
yeah, I mean, you're giving people a great deal and then they're coming back and saying, well, yeah, we want more.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and it's not that I don't understand what they want down there, but it's, that's the reason you got a great deal.
Yeah, right. And a focus there and a priority, we've been pretty clear, is to build units, to house people.
Yeah.
Is the-
Priority.
And not to say that we're not also thinking about green space too, but there is behind kind of those market rate lots, a lot of the, kind of hillside and property behind it was set aside as green space. And it's not, it's not developed, but it could be. And even though some of it, grading stuff is difficult, I've seen some really creative parks that are kind of built into hillsides and have really cool, kind of staged, or, different levels of stuff that could be kind of cool too for green space and parks.
Well, and this is the community organizer part of me. I'm like, Anville's a great neighborhood for like a neighborhood group, like it's
Yeah.
some of our biggest percentage of like year-round residents are living over there. So
Yeah.
No, and it's just gonna get larger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, as a percentage of the town population, that's gonna be a very concentrated, and that's why it was great that the town was able to take that final step and get it annexed, because it really is a part of the town, and those people need to be officially a part of this community, because it is gonna be a large population area.
Well, and it's such a great example. I'm not sure people really appreciate it, of kind of like the foresight that the county had in making it happen and what you guys got into with all the cleanup and, you know, that was really expensive, but just the foresight to start however many years ago. And now to, just in the time I've been here, the number of homes of people living there is significant. And we shouldn't lose sight of like the success that's been there. And then also like, we're still working on more. Did I miss key projects off the top of my head that anybody's thinking?
The only thing, did we want to put the new CPW grant for?
I was just looking at the
Sure,
trash.
yeah, you wanna go ahead?
No, you.
Oh, well, let me.
That one's not exactly announced yet, but we can announce the C3 grant. So the C3 grant is the 71,000 for upgrades to our transfer station. That includes a shed, a security system, internet, and a part-time employee that would be able to take payment there. And it also includes a vehicle and recycling cans downtown. So kind of creating a whole waste program.
Yeah,
And
and that,
we're
I mean,
just awarded that, so we cannot spend the money until we sign the contract, which should be in the next couple weeks.
and that might be, we can either talk about it now, because this is free form, or kind of talk about joint parties, because I'd love to hear from you guys too.
Yeah.
Is refuse management, right? It's a pain point for everybody. I was just in Alaska and I was talking to all those small towns that get lots of tourists. I was like, what do you guys do with your trash? And he said, you're small and you get a lot of people. So I think brainstorming creative ideas on how we haul trash, collect trash, manage trash. I mean, Austin, you were telling me, you know, painful stories of people's behavior in the backcountry with trash. So I just think refuse management is a joint issue. So any other big projects or questions on those projects?
I think you nailed the big ones.
Okay. Do you guys want to go ahead, share? We don't hear all the
I
other.
have just a quick question, and it's a town question. What's the logic in closing those two blocks on Labor Day weekend, one of our biggest weekends, to only motorcycle parking? Nobody asked the business community about it.
You mean for the rally?
Yeah. I mean, nobody asked any of us.
Mhm.
What's the logic?
Sure, that was a recommendation by the sheriff. And last year when they came up, they had some issues, and so he suggested they go through the special event permit process. So it did go through the town's special event permit process to close those down for the motorcycle rally, but that was at the recommendation of the sheriff.
I would suggest asking the business community next time.
Which two blocks?
What's that?
Which two blocks?
My block and the block where the Harley shop is.
11th to 13th.
Oh, really? On that whole
Yeah.
side?
That's our busiest weekend, and it's, the bars will be busy, the restaurants will be busy, but
Yeah, well, I think too, there's kind of the balance around events as economic development, right? Like this event is coming and that can attract people to come and spend money. And we also have other people in town that are not associated with that event. And so, yeah, and then trying to balance the health and safety, because we had heard that there were some issues with the parking last year. So, yeah, but good point, Scott. I think that's a good point, and or just how people get updated that that's happening.
it was a surprise.
Yeah. One thing on that point is just to make sure you guys are all on it. If you're on the town website, we've just started a town newsletter, because we're just trying to figure out like, how can we communicate better? Facebook's not a super useful platform, even that's where lots of people get their information. Not everybody gets the newspaper. And so we just, in August was our first issue, but trying to have a town newsletter. So sign up for it, tell people that you talk to sign up for it. You know, if there's an RFP released, if there's job openings, but also just kind of key things that are happening, can be in there. So encourage people to sign up for that. Yeah, how did you hear about the road closure? the parking.
Somebody coming in my shop and guess they're gonna close these blocks.
Yeah. Great.
If you're already signed up on the town mailing list for, you know, materials, is that something that you're kind of automatically signed up for the newsletter?
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
So if you already get town emails, you'll get the town newsletter, but if you don't get town emails, sign up for town emails. Or tell your constituents, yeah. Yeah. All right, well, how about we hear from you guys and then we can kind of just brainstorm and talk a little bit more, but like, what are the big things you guys are working on? I asked Austin a while ago, what keeps you up at night? Yeah, what are some?
One of our biggest things is our involvement with the EPA and what they're doing here in town and different things. They're extremely disappointing this summer because they couldn't get it together to get a contract until just now to start working on the repository again.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous because you have these huge startup costs as far as bringing in that kind of equipment. They're only going to have I mean, that contractor got his contract, but now he's got to gather all his equipment. They said tentatively end of August.
They've missed the whole summer.
My suggestion was, why don't you just bag it and start in May or June next year and finish the dang project? This thing should have been finished in 2 years.
Was there any explanation on the delay?
What was irritating, Scott, I'm not gonna take away.
Oh, go ahead.
It's the same contractors. Remember, they couldn't award and they couldn't award, they were waiting to award to go, same contractors as last year. As it turns out. With the mild winter we had last winter, I mean, anybody in construction was starting in May.
Yeah.
Okay, and I understand there's cutbacks and.
There's some.
There's stuff.
Yeah.
Funding, they're getting pinched pretty hard. But then he says end of August, when they came into our meeting, they said, well, Labor Day is a huge day. We're gonna start off Labor Day. You remember that, Scott?
That's what we heard when they came to talk to us.
After Labor Day. Well,
So I mean, it's mid
so the weather window, anybody in construction is not big.
Yeah, their weather window went from 6 months to 2.
Very just,
Yeah, so essentially, one of the things that happened, I mean, one is just the whole federal government and unsure what was gonna happen, where things were gonna fall, who was gonna be employed, whatever. But because the EPA has actually contracts with the Corps of Engineers to do their contracting, and they're shorthanded. So they weren't able to review contracts in a timely manner, so it pushed everything back. EPA is talking about taking that task back on themselves, but they're essentially in the same spot as the Corps, so it may not mean that they can review a contract any quicker. So it's and disappointing to say the least. I think the reason one of the reasons they're actually coming in, even though it's going to be for a short building season, is they have to put enough together on the tailings pond to be able to use it as a repository, because they're out of space up in Gladstone.
They're running out of space.
Have to haul sludge this fall. They have to. But that's a little bit of lack of planning personally.
It was supposed to be a 1-year project, and it'll be a year for it.
yeah.
It's my estimate to the taxpayer, it's gonna be what, 16, 18 million dollars or something. It should have been 12, 13 or something like that. So, and anytime you have a mobilization like that, it's expensive. So now you got 4 years of mobilization.
4.5 million just in rental equipment.
So when do they have any projections on when they'll be done?
End of next season.
End of next season.
Their wish.
They start at the beginning of next season.
One thing I'm doing a little research on is because I was involved in the trucking last time to Kitty Mac, as you remember.
Mhm.
And this sludge, they no longer have that drying machine, right? So they're talking about just kind of researching to see, talking to Athena and whatnot, on what kind of trucks they're gonna use, which affects both town and county, because they're coming across the bypass,
Right.
right? And if they use regular 10-wheel dumps, it might be a mess. There are trucks made for that, and there's companies that have those. So I've been just kind of but we're kind of asking them what trucks you're using.
Because what do you foresee, Pete, as the implications of the trucks they use? Material getting out?
Sludge paving.
Getting out.
It's a lot of it is liquid.
Uh-huh.
We don't have a filter press.
Dry, uh-huh.
We've been on them for
Yeah,
years
which is
to
a
put
sore
a filter
point
press up at
for a
that
filter
plant,
press.
and there's one available.
It's so much liquid that it's hard to contain it in a regular truck.
Just gonna slop.
Gonna come out, yeah.
I don't want to get too into the weeds with the EPA stuff because we
Okay.
have a lot of stuff to talk about. But if
Okay.
you guys have other stuff you want to talk about.
Go ahead.
But the repository is a big one.
I'm just pointing out that, yeah.
They are gonna be hauling sludge, they're gonna be hauling more gravel. We are pressuring them to get off the pot here and let's get a lime treatment plant, focus on Gladstone, Howardsville, Mayflower tailings, not wasting time on all these other projects when we know where they really need to be reacting. So that's where we're going with DPA.
Yeah.
They will be hauling a bunch more gravel and asphalt. And so, I mean, the town will see some decent revenue.
Yeah, I mean that, because the impact is
Traffic.
significant
Yeah.
and it's really good that we implemented the,
But yeah, you have that impact as well.
yeah.
What's the asphalt for?
And then I don't think they're gonna do that till the following year. They were actually gonna asphalt the
Part of the
base,
repository.
but now they're just gonna do the driveway, the apron going on to where it goes to the road, I think, so.
Mm.
So I think they've cut that way down.
And you know, unfortunately, we don't have the funding we were hoping for the solar project that we wanted to get planned, right, with Team Gold. So still looking for opportunities for that.
Still a great idea,
It's a really great idea.
fantastic idea.
It's not, they're still working on some conceptual plans and there's still some money left over from the second round of funding. So it's not like gone.
It's not killed to death. Yeah, yeah. What else? What else over there?
Go ahead.
I know you and I both probably have pretty detailed lists of some of the stuff that we've been working on. Do you want me to?
You go. when-
pick off on it, or
if-
you want me to-
if you
Go
have
ahead.
anything.
Go ahead.
All right. Okay. I would just say, in the county's estimation, we have priorities and then maybe our community has priorities for the county too. So maybe I'll start with our community's, priorities for what the county is working on. I think, a lot of shared things in here. Affordable housing is a big one, that we both share, and we could spend a 2-hour meeting talking about that too, but we've dealt a little bit with that. Dust control on County Road 2 is a big project that we've been working on this year and thrown hundreds of thousands of dollars at, and we'll continue to try and make moves. Actually, the big project for that is yet to start. We're putting a bunch of gravel base and raising the level of the road, trying to get it off of the bedrock so that we can have a more maintainable surface of road. And then we did do mag chloride this year, which I think did well for a while in the problem spots. And the EPA is actually going to pony up some money finally after asking them for 6 years, maybe more, to help
Chloride.
mag chloride next year. So
We
yeah.
think, we haven't seen the.
We see,
final
yeah,
contract.
seen it yet, but we think they're going to help. So,
Uh-huh.
There was like that last joint meeting we had, there was like some new spray that you all were looking at. Did that not like come?
It didn't pan out.
it didn't pan out very well. There's other things that we're still looking at, and we're also looking at potentially getting a tank that we can keep mag chloride on site so that we can, and ways that we can do it to applicate the mag chloride to the roads ourselves with the equipment and the crew that we have, so that we're not hiring it out and having people come in. One of the problems that you guys faced as well with mag chloride is the main contractor, Gemco. We're not very high on the priority list. So we don't get first pick of when we want to have it done. We get kind of last pick of when it gets done. So, Gunnison County spends millions of dollars a year, I think $3 to $5 million a year on mag chloride. We spend, 30,000. So
Yeah.
we're in two different ballparks, and we are small potatoes. And so sometimes we have to take the leftovers. And I know our road and bridge guys have been working with CDOT too, to try and get some material and some leftover equipment and things like that. And they're really trying to be resourceful to find ways to get it done in in the cheapest and best way that we can do it, by rolling up our own sleeves and getting it done. That'll be a theme
But the
here.
big thing is getting
County is,
a road base
Yeah,
built up, because there's
Yeah.
no point in putting mag chloride on something that has no road base. It's
Yeah.
It's just gonna disappear even faster. Not that it doesn't disappear pretty fast anyway.
and I'll just talk, just a side note, just briefly of, we're also facing infrastructure issues, both with our, in-town holdings, hospital building and heating issues. We both maintain these, these beautiful buildings, but they take a lot. Yeah.
They're like just beautiful old ladies that need a lot of attention and.
Yeah. And then our roads too. We've got probably 40 to 50 years worth of, maintenance to catch up on some areas of roads, like all of our culverts are failing all over the county. Some roads are becoming narrower and harder to pass and, need either the road built back up and out or, in order to keep roads open. That's.
I mean, do you see vulnerabilities that certain roads would need to be closed or like changing usage or what?
We have one closed right now. We have like Little Giant Basin Road right now closed, and they're doing work. They're trying a new product that's expanding grout, that's used a lot in mines. And so and if it works, the county will get its own jackleg. And this is also something we've talked a little bit about for Fair Creek potential too. But you drill the holes, you put the expanding grout in, and it cracks it. So there's a rock outcropping and a really thin spot on the road where you go around, and the road is eroding away on the outside of the road and pushing people further into the inside of the road. And there's been more than a few side view mirrors lost. And
It's better to use this project than that product than blasting. 'Cause
Yeah.
Blasting could really shake up that narrow section of road, which we don't want.
A little gentler.
yeah, yeah. But that's like some of the infrastructure things and county road and bridge stuff that's going on. If anybody has anything to add there for road and bridge, kind of related.
So kind of roads and stuff, does the crew feel like they're seeing similar levels of usage, decrease volume, or with Backcountry Ranger? Like, what's the sense of what's happening out there in terms of camping?
Heavy backcountry use,
It's
heavier than normal.
It's still the wild, wild west out there. One of the county's largest landowners, their son was up on one of their properties and people were, ripping around with side by sides. And when they went to go tell them, hey, this is private property, you can't be ripping around and this is alpine tundra and you shouldn't be doing this anyway. I said, well, what are you going to do about it? We're packing. So, and then it escalated into physical violence and yeah, it's not.
But like volume
No.
hasn't gone down, it just people out.
It's gone up a bit.
And yeah, John Jacobs said that one of the days this year was the busiest day he'd seen in his life up here
Oh, wow.
in the backcountry, which from him is
Is
a
Yeah.
long time.
And he's got a lot of data points.
Yeah.
There's been like a lot of speeding out there too. I've been hearing a lot of like.
Yeah, and
Speeding.
I will say the sheriff's department has been much better this year about being out there and ticketing and controlling traffic on County Road 2. Getting further out into the backcountry is just tough and
I mean, there's only so many of them for.
Yeah.
the-
Has
There-
funding for that? Did it still exist this season for the Backcountry Ranger program or was it cut?
a little,
Little
but
both.
I think they give us,
I know
I think
Uray
years ago, they gave us
expanded their program.
$30,000 a year to replace essentially what was, I think, a $200,000 program of management of law enforcement. And this is the last time we had this administration. So and this year that's just gone even further down. So another key theme here is, state and federal funding as it trickles down to us, and rely a lot on state and federal funding and our federal and state partners to manage the 87% of, federal land here. And it's a challenge from everything from managing public lands to social services. Daycare funding is down quite a bit, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. And yeah, that's a big challenge that we're facing with them. And it's tough because they're in a bind too. And what can you do? You can't sit here and say, you guys need to increase your funding and resources that you have here when their resources and funding are being cut so drastically.
They have like two BLM Rangers to cover 700,000
Yeah.
square miles or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And just, if you guys aren't aware, we had a request to help, San Juan Mountain Association with, bathrooms at the Ice Lake Trailhead. And so we agreed to spend some money up there. And, the Porta Johns, they got a deal with Bob Johns, put some toilets up there. The Porta Johns got abused by people emptying their, RVs in them and filling them with trash. And, so Bob's John said, we can't deal with this. We'll lock them up and just have them open when you have staff up there. So they tried that, and the people broke off the locks and vandalized them. And so John was pulling their units out. So it's like, I mean, an expensive, because the feds weren't
Right.
their job essentially. And even at that, we can't do it because, you got people abusing it. It's like, sad.
Ice lakes, whatever, we get like permitted. Is that a discussion?
After them for years.
Yeah.
This year, because they're super shorthanded, because people
40% of them are on the
retired and different things. They've been told to prioritize things, which is timber sales is their main priority, because that makes them money. Which is like the lift at Purgatory, the new lift they're going to put in. As far as taking the time to go to a permitting system, which is going to be labor intensive initially, we've had no movement.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because ice lakes, they're all getting, everywhere is getting pounded.
Right.
It's not, ice lakes is the sacrificial cow, but now people that don't want to go to ice lakes are now parking up Columbine Lake.
No.
Now they found,
It's like squeezing a balloon.
Slowly finding.
yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, it's sad.
And if it doesn't have the infrastructure, then it's hard to manage the usage, but then the usage is so high or inappropriate. It's just,
I like Ernie's idea of putting a toll booth at Eureka.
when I've told family members, just, I think many people, when you explain to them, like the nature of the county, right? 87% federal lands, right? You get not a lot of Pell funding, like it's based off of not users, it's based off of population, or you think about, the number.
They're small population.
Right, exactly. Or, us, all the ratepayers paying for all of our infrastructure for water, sewer, trash, but yet we see huge influx of visitors. I think a lot of friends, family that I talk to, they're like, we'd pay a small fee, we'd pay a toll, we'd pay whatever. And then it's like, well, Tabor, you can't.
Like even ATVs, which have to buy a sticker, that goes to Colorado Parks and Wildlife. And that's not most of the time coming back to us. I'd like to see us be able to charge a sticker so that we could put money into, and just for gravel that's been spun off the roads.
If most residents knew how Tabor hamstrings us, it would be very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Austin, you were talking about priorities, affordable. Control.
Dust control, affordable housing, healthcare is a big one, right? Like 40% of our population's over 60. And we've, the voters have shown again and again their priority for healthcare. So that affects us a lot, and the county manages a lot in terms of health. So I've got a list here of all the departments that we manage. It's the Office of Emergency Management. It's the Public Information Officer, Deanne's position, that really does help Jim priority, but also all of us for town and county control information. The San Juan Health Department, the Ambulance Association, Silverton Mountain Rescue, Fire Department, the Silverton Clinic, which we'll talk about in a little bit, in the Sheriff's Department. So that's all kind of in the realm of like, county health and safety, basically. And that's a huge, portfolio of what the county does. One of the big requests that we've had for help is, I don't know how many of you guys know or are familiar with Yvonne and Dave, who have done their high country remote care, and how great they've been doing. And then we've also had Access Health, which actually kind of backed up and bowed out of being there because of the services that we had there. And then the Silverton Clinic, last month notified us that they are going to be shutting down. Regulations and things have changed for, Dr. Bob's Brokering's, pro bono license that they were operating underneath for that director of health position. So the Silverton Clinic starting, I think, was it October or end of September? I think it's
I think August.
End of August.
end of August. Yeah, it was pretty.
End of August and then
End of August.
end of September, they would be.
They've been cleaning out for that.
Yeah, yeah. So
But the problem is when there isn't, I mean, Dave and Yvonne are busy, but they're not really making money.
Mhm.
And they need staff. I mean, they're trying to do, I think Dave trying to, do his work on a computer and this and that. And he's pretty overwhelmed. And that's been one of the asks, is to try to finance help for them.
Like medical assistant or office, like schedule.
yeah,
Like
administrative.
administrative or a position like Lois's, like
Right.
nurse or something like that. I think that's really an essential thing we need to be thinking about. And
Yeah.
it's almost kind of because the clinic is here in town, I feel like there should be some joint financing from both town and county on this one.
And I think, like, correct me if I'm wrong, there was some sort of barriers that potentially could happen because they are for profit. Like if us,
Yeah.
There has to be like a nonprofit
Yeah.
that will benefit from federal grants for rural healthcare. There's the grant guy, ask that guy.
Well, our attorney is concerned about giving a private business tax dollars to use. I mean, I think there's things around that and we can figure that out. But the problem is if we give him, and I think his request a couple of months ago was in the neighborhood of $60,000. If we give him 60,000, then somebody else comes in and I'm going to set up a clinic. I expect the county to give me 60,000 to get started. So that's where we have to be careful. Grant wise, it's easier to get foundation money and grant money if you're a nonprofit corporation. There was some talk of becoming I don't even remember.
We lose that with the clinic.
The certified,
Federally qualified health.
fully certified health clinic.
The benefits from being a fully qualified
Yeah.
health provider right now are drying up. I mean, it might allow the county and town to give some money, but the major benefit for a program like that was big federal dollars, and those are not going to be there.
Well, and interestingly enough, the new director of the Silverton Family Learning Center basically created one of these federal programs for Olathe, I think, or.
And in Montrose, yeah, she ran it in the way.
It was Olathe and then expanded.
It expanded and
Hand up if you would like to ask.
her comment was that we probably just aren't large enough
Yeah.
to qualify for that, but
Yeah.
possibly we could piggyback on
Someone.
an existing
Yeah.
one, but.
And actually, speak the devil, Debbie's online.
She
If
has
we'd
her
like
hand up.
to let her add anything else there.
She does have some experience in that and
Yeah.
I'm sure we're gonna be
Yeah.
tapping into that.
I think we could add Debbie if she wants to speak. Something, putting on my public health hat, something we talked a lot about is like, what could or should a model of healthcare look like here in Silverton and San Juan County, right? Because we've had instances of individual providers providing care, and the county's been a great partner in providing space. But Becky and I were doing quite a bit of research into kind of like, what do other small communities do? Do they operate it, as an independent clinic? Do they set it up as an entity of the county? And so I think there's a variety of models that kind of could be interesting to think about in terms of just funding structures and is it the county and town have like a contract with this provider? And it'd be like an RFP process, because then maybe that would protect us all from this idea that anybody could say, well, we're providing healthcare too, and we want $60,000.
And I think that's probably, the way to approach it is doing it. I mean, the county doesn't want to be operating the clinic in any sense of the word, but if, and historically, the county has, a few years ago, multiple years ago, the county did subsidize a doctor to come up twice a week to provide healthcare. So, I mean, there is some precedent to it. But yeah, how we define that and how we make that work, I think is a question.
Yeah.
But you know, to a certain, I mean, essentially, we're doing that with mental health right now.
Yeah, yeah.
We're
Through
taking-
public health, yeah.
through public health, we're doing funding and providing mental health services through
Private subcontract.
private providers, yeah.
And just so everybody knows, anybody in town can get 10 free mental health visits. Use them before that money goes away. That's my plug. Go see them.
Maybe does have her hand raised.
We'll promote you.
Hi,
Thanks
everybody.
for
Can you hear
joining
me?
us. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, this is Debbie Harrison Zarkis. And as you were talking about, I was the first CEO of River Valley Family Health Center in Olathe, and then we expanded to Montrose and Delta. And I won't go into a lot of detail, but please do know that I am more than willing to be a consultant, unpaid, just to kind of help out with the situation, or, if a work committee is decided upon, I am again willing to help with that. As you said, I was the first CEO in the Montrose area and served there as CEO and COO for about 10 years. And so I do have a lot of experience with FQHCs. I am a bit out of the loop right now, but I have a couple acquaintances who are involved with a consultant group based out of Montrose, and they could probably give you some very, very current information. In my very short presentation or talk with the commissioners, I do believe that a satellite clinic would be the best option for Silverton, which means we would be under the direction of a larger clinic like River Valley Family Health Center. There's an FQHC in Norwood, so there might be a couple of options.
Thanks, Debbie. That's really helpful.
You bet.
Question, this may be getting in the weeds too much and we can talk about, but I'd love to talk a little bit about budget stuff as we all go into budget season. But did the county have a line item for Silverton Clinic
Yes.
for for staff position or support? Yeah, gotcha. And do you see that level of funding continuing, or that's kind of up in the air?
Basically what we had budgeted last year was $26,000.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And previously we had, we had budgeted that much, but for the previous years, we were able to take it out of the public health budget because they had more grant money than they knew what to do with.
Yeah.
It's all gone away.
It's all gone away.
Anyway.
We're like struggling.
Yeah. So, but we do have that we've got $26,000 in the budget as a line item.
Yeah.
And we have been paying, or had been paying, for the assistant for the Silverton Clinic, and it wouldn't, from a dollar standpoint, it'd be easy for us to continue to make those payments.
Yeah.
To the Dr. Brown's clinic. So
yeah.
But we just have to make sure we do it in a way that makes our attorney happy.
That's what we care about. We've got to make our attorneys happy. Yeah.
I just think that's like something that we just really need to, sit down as both town and county and discuss the priorities for that for the community. I mean, the healthcare system, I think, is the number one issue nationally too. It's not unique to us, but I think that, again, some of the things that we can do where we can lace up our bootstraps and do ourselves and help provide quality primary care, because it's going away and eroding regionally around us too. And if we can, support people here, especially as they're kind of aging in place, I think it has tremendous impact to our entire community and and to all of us who live here.
Well, and, you know, again, wearing the public health hat, I think we're gonna see people lose some of their insurance coverage over the next 2 to 3 years. And so that could be significant. We may not see it next year, but we could see it over a period of time. And so I think just keeping our fingers on the pulse of like what people have, what they don't have, how they can get care. And again, you know, Dr. Brown takes a variety of insurance plans. He takes Medicare, Medicaid, but if people don't have insurance, then
You're talking about like Medicaid.
yeah, changes to Medicaid. Yeah.
We hover a little bit above the state average. I think the state average is just under 25%. And I think the county's more like 27, 28% of people are their primary medical care is Medicaid. So it affects a lot of us here.
I think it'll be worse next year with the like state funding gap too, because I think there's like in another gap. So
Yeah.
and that's all coming from Medicaid.
It's scary. We were at the CML conference and they said that even just implementing the new Medicaid changes, just enrollment changes, you know, not anything in terms of service or care, but just implementing the enrollment changes, what it was going to cost the state $50 million. Computer system, new processes, new staff, new whatever. Like, oh, okay, yeah.
I've taken to making a comment about it every single time I talk to anybody from the state and the feds about it, particularly our elected officials.
Yeah.
You know, saying that, you know, this is the number one priority of the people from our county and our town. And it's the number one problem in our state and it's the number one problem nationally.
Yeah.
What are you doing about it? And
I think it'd be good to chat through, what does potentially sustainable model for healthcare look like in Silverton? And maybe that's not the right way to go about it, because it seems like what we've done is it's kind of based off the provider that's here. Like, here's a provider that wants to offer this service. Let's find a way to support it. But then you also have the situation where if that provider is gone, you've lost that capacity and there's no organization where that lives, where you could advertise for a new position, or, you know, like if you had a school-based health clinic and that was an established position, then if the provider left, you could hire for that position. So, yeah. Okay, so healthcare. Liz, I'd love to kind of talk about some joint priorities and budget, like going into your budget season.
I had just a couple more that I wanted to go through, and almost all of them, three of the four are health related, and the other one I think can still, you know, kind of qualify in that health, safety, welfare, you know, category too. But another big request that's come to us is to create a wildland fire program locally here too. Last year, we were prepared to do that funding to create some seed money for the wildland fire program. But then there was this request to update the SCBA respirators for the fire department. And we asked the fire department to choose, because and we had told the fire department before too that there is a lot of state and federal grant money out there for that. And we said the county cannot sustain the wildland fire program and seed the money. There's a lot of grants out there, go after it. So we gave them some money to go after grants, and that'll be coming up here pretty soon in budget season to see what the requests are and what the grant applications have looked like. But it has been kind of crickets since our meetings last year.
You're not sure if they've made progress on grant applications and.
Haven't heard anything specific. No.
And I feel like, I think it's a good idea, but I want them to have skin in the game.
Yeah.
You know, you guys pursue grants. Don't just keep coming to the county asking us to give them money. They have to pursue grants.
Especially when it's out there.
The
Yeah.
SCBA equipment was $130,000 that we came up with funding for, and you know, it was a whole, and they did a great job of actually finding a good deal on it, but yeah, it was like, you know, if this is your priority, this is what we can fund. We can't do both of them.
Right. Right.
I just think from, you know, wildfires just becomes, you know, a larger issue across the American West. And, you know, we've buried our head in the sand on it for a long time in this community and been lucky that we haven't had major forest fires and things like that. But I think, for town and county, I think it really does impact us all. Out of the 4 items that I have here is probably the most county centered item, but definitely want to continue to involve the town in the discussions that we have surrounding wildland fire.
Bevan, do you know anything more about fire department pursuing grants for that?
Yes, I know, I talked with Clark about it last week, 2 weeks ago. So I know he's working on that. I'll check in with him on the status of it as well. And I know, I'm pretty sure that the SCBA's had to get renewed because they were dating out.
No choice on those.
Right. So that was, the choice was made. I do want to talk about the new wildfire resiliency code that's coming. Into it after, everything that you want to discuss or whenever it's appropriate, but that's definitely in the works.
Do you feel like now's a good time to discuss wildfire resiliency code stuff, or do you guys want to save that for later in the discussion if we have?
If we have time,
Yeah.
maybe that needs to be like its own agenda item of like, because you're talking about in particular to adoption of code.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
The new state code.
yeah.
I went to that session at CML.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've talked about it as a board yet.
Okay.
I guess in that, I'll just say that without getting into the weeds, trying to coordinate, I was in a meeting with La Plata and Durango Fire on Corolla was there, Steve Rinaldi, head of the fire marshal, trying to coordinate all of us being on the same page with code updates. So, and that includes, it's IFC, fire code, also into building code. And so we're shooting to try, if we do it together, aligned in our region, it helps a lot. It helps when we go on mutual aid calls to knowing what to expect in homes. The counties that don't have building departments and building code are in a whole, I can't even imagine what they're thinking right now, but we're going to need to be on board. April 1st, we have to have the timeline, and July 1st, I believe, has to be implemented. So
Is this something that like Bevan, you could work with Willie and Gloria on, like the timing of when it should be on our various agendas? Okay, yeah, great. Does that make sense, Gloria? Yeah.
And
Yeah, and it's stuff we have
we've been talking.
been talking about and working on. And it may be a good idea, and it may be something. I mean, it's one of these things that creates more questions than it does answers, and everybody's kind of running around trying to figure it out. But bottom line is, it's another unfunded mandate coming down from the state that we got to figure out how to pay for.
Okay.
And depending on what zone you are in on the state wildfire map, is going to impact how and what you're going to need to do to build in that area.
Yeah.
And are you going to have staff or contracted people that can come out and do site visits and determine that, just because a map shows it as a worst case scenario, in reality, it isn't. But the map itself is so broad based that, to pinpoint a cabin in the middle of something is.
And what does that do to afford? Yeah. Lindsay, do you have anything?
oh yeah, I think I forwarded the map over to Gloria so she can send it to you guys. But in that, I went to this session at CML on this code. And Gunnison County presented on it, and they had really, really good insight in how they have already implemented. They the state kind of used Gunnison as a model for how to do the maps. And then there was some funding for volunteer fire departments for the implementation. And I can forward over this email for Chief Burnett from the Colorado Fire Control Division. So I think there's more resources for smaller communities for this implementation, at least.
The other challenge, well, on top of that, I think once we have a fire crew in place, they can work full time on not only training, but on defueling the forest around us. And we can work on getting some of the funding from the feds for that. It'll be easier if we have a crew in place. And my other concern, challenge with the state is that they're asking us to implement the new codes, and in my eyes, a lot of it doesn't matter if we're not addressing the forests around us that are a tinderbox. So that really, it's almost more important because this is a pretty defensible town with the creek and the river and the other creek, and a buffer zone, but it's going to be more challenging if any of that lights up around us. So.
And then one of the comments they made at CML, because the state presented on the code, was that this was like their attempt to address some of the insurance issues that people have been having of like solving an underlying problem of just not like having better built homes. So this was like their answer to that question. Probably more relevant for Cascade than up here.
Yeah, and it's a big deal for Cascade. They lost their insurance over lack of fire preparedness, I would say, or not qualifying according to their insurer's needs for that. So they've been scrambling and done a couple fuels projects and things like that. So I don't think we've heard from them whether they successfully completed those projects to the point where their insurance is going to.
Yeah, they did do a remediation project. We had provided them 10,000 in match.
Yeah.
They did complete that, but where how
that's shaken out so far, we haven't heard.
Yeah.
It's budget season coming up, so we'll likely hear from
them. Yeah.
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 One of the further ones away right now, but it's not that far away, is talking about the new ambulance mountain rescue building that we've been discussing with Tyler. And just how that's going to affect our IGA. And I don't think we need to go too far into the weeds with it, but historically the town has kind of maintained the carriage house, and the county's maintained that the fire department building. But that's all gonna change when we really start breaking ground and talking about it. And that's gonna ripple pretty far for us because it's going to take away some of the county road and bridge space. So the county road and bridge folks are really working on creative solutions to try and figure out what spaces they're going to use to house some of the equipment and some of the things that they currently house in that site.
Hoped for? Yeah.
The hopeful site is in the right next to the fire station on the other side where the old county shop is. That's where we're looking at. And like I said, I think this is the furthest one of the four that I have on here, but that doesn't mean that it's that far away.
But yeah, Tyler put together a grant application that we submitted to DOLA for a planning grant.
Yeah. So
Feasibility
planning, engineering,
study, so-
feasibility, architecture, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, and
They haven't done the geotech or anything yet, have they?
I haven't heard back from DOLA.
Okay.
Called a couple of times, but we're just sort of waiting to see. We can't do anything until we get a contract with them.
And again, as we heard from CML, lots of the DOLA funding was on pause or dried up, or it's just a really painful time to be trying to get some projects.
Yeah.
Patrick?
Maybe just putting a pin in that. I wonder if, I'm kind of stepping back for a minute and thinking about kind of healthcare in town, the building, how we think about that. And then you have, the county manages the emergency service funding, or this tax, collects the tax and manages the tax and allocates the tax from that. And so it's probably a conversation to sort of have about like, what are you guys hoping for with that funding and strategic plan and how it funds these variety of things? And then what does that look like for the IGA with the town, with the carriage house, and what additional funding might or might not be needed for healthcare or ambulance building, like how can we both partner, but then also recognizing it's like, well, the funding for a lot of that is collected at the county level and the town doesn't have a lot of, say or influence, like you guys have been managing that. That's great. So just thinking about, if or how that should change going forward, or what you guys are hoping with that funding and the projects that get accomplished with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a deeper question for sure, but definitely that emergency services funding that we've been collecting, the thought process for the last several years has been, trying to use a bulk of that balance to supporting our ambulance association, to making sure that they can have a more sustainable space to do the great work that they do. So, yeah. And I know we'll have more discussions when it comes to budget season for that stuff too, even just for the short term too, for them. But yeah. And the last of the four ones, and maybe one of the most, kind of pressing ones, is our daycare, the Silverton Family Learning Center. And that's, I'm sure why Debbie's here today, is to, take part and listen to this discussion that we have. Our funding for the Silverton Family Learning Center is gone away and going away. It's there
At the state level.
at the state level, yeah, which trickles down from the federal level quite a bit. But the Silverton Family Learning Center was facing about an $80,000 a year deficit in funding from the state and federal level last 2 years. So that's annually. So and not just 1 year, just $80,000 a year is kind of what it's built to in the last years for the deficit. And then just recently, they've been really counting on this funding that they get for the state, and they're going to face another deficit of another $45,000 to $50,000. And so they came to us with an emergency request for $50,000, and we are working with them to create a sustainability plan to help support Silverton Family Learning Center. And historically, the town has not really contributed to the Silverton Family Learning Center, not by lack of request for the county when it was created, and the Silverton Family Learning Center itself. But that's going to be a really critical issue, I think, during budget season for us this year, is to discuss how we're going to support and continue to sustain a daycare and pre-K in this community, with that shortfall of state and federal funding.
Mm-hmm. And not to put you on the spot, Debbie, and so the commissioners can answer this if they want, and you're working on sustainability plan. Are you looking at kind of rates and, variations depending on people's income, but also the rates that people are paying for affordability and whatnot?
I'd like to let Debbie answer that. Yeah.
And again, maybe Debbie, it's a little too soon because you guys are working on this plan, but is that kind of part of the analysis, is sort of what revenue you're bringing in on the, payment admission fee side, as well as what amount of money is available at kind of the federal state?
It absolutely is. However, the preliminary analysis we've done on fees is that parents cannot afford more than what we're charging. We have especially a couple families in town who rely on the UPK funding, which is the Colorado Universal Preschool Program that Governor Polis started a couple of years ago. And that has kind of taken the place of CPP, as was mentioned. And for larger cities, again, that was mentioned, but it's working out great, but not for smaller communities, because we never know what our enrollment's going to look like. And so we cannot plan on that funding. And the enrollment, excuse me, of those 3- and 4-year-olds that are eligible has been down the past couple of years. So we are working on a sustainability plan, but as you probably understand with the current administration, not only are there fewer grants out there, there's a lot more competition for those grants. Mm-hmm. So grants are not a guarantee, not an answer. Our emergency funding plan consists of reaching out to 4 to 5 different local entities, including the school district, the American Legion, the county, and the town. And I'll give you a more in-depth presentation when I come to the town trustee meeting. But yes, that is kind of the gist of it, but please feel free to ask any questions.
Thanks, Debbie.
You bet.
Can you guys refresh our memory on the breakdown of the voter approved allocation of the, I want to make sure I speak to it right. Is it the lodging tax? It's a tax, right?
Yeah, it's
A fee tax.
Yeah.
And then what was the breakdown for voter approved for childcare and affordable housing, and then what to still go towards marketing?
Okay, so the ballot issue that was approved
Yeah,
by the voters was that 40% goes for marketing. 40% goes for workforce housing / childcare. And 20% goes for visitor.
oh, that's right,
enhancement.
experience or any, okay, yeah, that's right.
And just as like kind of obviously for this 40% that we're talking about, if we're talking about childcare, we're also talking about affordable housing.
Right, exactly.
Same.
Yeah, in the determinations, yeah. How much money, what's the annual revenue for the lodging tax at the county level? Do you have that? The revenue for the lodging tax per year?
Roughly, and we're running about 10% behind this year from last year.
Uh-huh,
Last year was 196,000.
okay, thanks.
And we've been trying to build the balance for affordable housing for grant matches for these,
Yeah.
for the housing projects coming forward and for supporting that. So, if we start really digging, and we did for the emergency measure, $50,000.
It's hard prioritization, yes.
Yeah, but yeah, that's a big discussion, and when we have these discussions for affordable housing, we'd love to have them with you guys and with the housing authority. The visitor enhancement funding has kind of run the gamut of a few different things, but things like the artwork for boarded up or windows, that's come from that. And one of the big chunks that we've just allocated was for the signage and pre-signage.
I think what's really cool about what the county has done and what is credit to kind of San Juan Development Association and with the housing authority is leveraging that funding for grant matches for something else, right? She's turned it into something else with the Main Street program. We did it. And then with the sign
And
as a match. Yeah.
And just to let you know, we tapped into that fund for about $7,000 to do radon removal for the preschool for the child care. We committed 45,000 for the last 6 months of this year.
Yeah.
And we understand that they have, though we haven't received anything official, we understand that they have an issue with their boiler or their furnace over there that's probably going to need to be replaced.
I was this afternoon looking at it myself.
We're probably gonna.
No.
And
In addition to pickup, yeah. No, not even.
and traditionally they paid us
Figured out how to turn it on.
$500 a month in rent that covered the lease purchase payment,
Yeah.
and we've essentially picked that up as well. So.
Can that be a green grant? You seen those? So like water, sorry, Eco Action Partners is just doing these new green grants program from Telluride Foundation, and they're for like sustainability initiatives, but there are like, windows, doors, whatever insulation.
They are, share that with them. They are gonna work on that.
For the learning center. Yeah, cool.
Be like a 50,000.
Yeah, there's a ton of money in
That
that.
would be like return, repayment.
Right. You have to pay
Yeah.
for it up front.
Pay for upfront and then they reimburse you.
Yeah.
But Kendra and they did say that they could work with whoever if you didn't have the ability to put down that money. So there's some options there.
Yeah. And we waived some of their fees for infrastructure as well. Yeah.
Debbie's got her hand raised.
Go ahead, Debbie. Thanks for being here.
Hi. Yeah, you bet. And just so you know, John's here too. Bevan did pretty much accurately summarize. I did reach out to Greenworks. I haven't heard back from them yet, but Gloria and I did talk about that for some time yesterday. I did read over the grant and the stipulations, The problem is the funding. If we qualified and received funding, we would not actually receive it till January. So as
Mhm.
Bevan said, that would be a repayment if we were able to get those funds. We've also reached out to several energy companies. The board has done an amazing job of reaching out to anybody they can think of to help cover that, at least $10,000. That's our initial estimate.
And this is again to replace the boiler.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
the hot water for the building.
the boiler is almost 20 years
Ba-
old.
Right.
Because it was
Baker's operating
put
without
in
hot
when the
water,
building
without-
was built.
Yeah.
It's a boiler and a hot water heater and floor
Correct.
heat.
Yes, correct.
Can operate it without that there.
It's a now problem.
It's an app.
It is a now problem, and
We'll just put them over in the hospital building since there's heat over there.
They're now really moved to the hospital. It's very child safe.
I'm sorry, am I still unmuted?
Oh, no,
Debbie.
sorry, Debbie, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's fine. I did just want to mention too that it's a licensing issue, because in
Yeah.
order to sanitize laundry and when we do dishes in the sink, which we're really trying not to do, washing hands, it's definitely a licensing issue as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the discussion in the room as well. Yeah, that's a
Okay,
problem.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. So that kind of brings us into budgeting. Do you guys want to jump into that a little bit?
Yeah.
So just kind of a little context, the finance committee met on Monday. And so we're just starting to move into budgeting. I think just from a sales tax perspective, it's kind of helpful to share where we are. We have seen decent sales tax growth. I think some of that can be explained by inflation. And if you look at the packet from the finance committee meeting on Monday, Gloria did a graph that kind of matched it to inflation. So we all know that whether we're buying things or whether we're businesses, prices have gone up as well. But we still have seen strong sales tax numbers. So we kind of had the conversation as the finance committee of like, well, we probably can kind of assume this is the new normal of revenue collection. And even with this year being people having slightly uncertain ideas about the economy, like we're still on track to collect above what we predicted. So I think that can mean a couple things. Again, it means we're still collecting the online sales tax revenue, right? So that's we're all ordering more stuff online and it costs more. And Jim was bringing up the point that all of his costs are up, right? So costs are just up in general. I think we are still seeing visitors here and visitors coming, and prices are up. So it's hard to tell, like, are we collecting the same amount of revenue, but fewer visitors because prices are more expensive? And I think I just keep trying to emphasize that we can't use our sales tax numbers like we used to as like a direct correlation to how our local businesses are doing, because they're just not that. It's a more nuanced story. We talk about that a lot in the chamber meeting, how, 10 years ago, local sales tax collection was a very direct correlation to how our local businesses and local economy was doing. And now it doesn't tell quite that same story. It's not a complete picture. So I think that's important to keep in mind. But as far as just town revenue goes, we're not predicting like a decrease in sales tax revenue for next year. I think there could be a little softening of the economy. And the inflation is not going down, I don't think. But the finance committee is probably going to recommend to the board that like, hey, we can still predict our sales tax collection to be similar to what it's been. So that's kind of good news, right? Because it's been healthy. Again, the flip side of that is that costs all across the board go up. So all the things we have to pay for, staff, COLA, health insurance, we know all those things. So I think those will be some budgetary pressures. And I think as you and the rest of the community knows, we were pretty intentional with last year's budget to kind of tighten up to core focuses, right? And so we really said, look, we've been doing a variety of these mini grants. We've been spending in a variety of areas, but it's really time, as our accountant said, you guys can't keep spending more than you're bringing in, right? You invested in some key projects. NEC Park was a huge project to get completed and built. We had a variety of costs over at Kendall to really finish the deck and get the lift operational again and not do any more evacuations off of it. So we had some big investments and we did that for a couple of years, but then this board really unfortunately had to say, okay, we can't keep spending at that level. And so I think we'll have to have more prioritization conversations as we go into budgeting on, okay, we still have deferred maintenance for a variety of our buildings. We had this conversation on Monday. Gloria put together a capital improvements plan. So if you guys are interested or haven't seen that, I think that's kind of helpful because it puts out it just lays out over the next, what's the time frame, Gloria? 5 years for the capital improvements? Yeah, 5-year capital improvements plan of just like, she talked to the different departments, looking at our assets and really thinking like, what are we both dreaming of? And also what are just deferred maintenance items that we're gonna have to take care of? I mean, there's buckets in the Vista Town Hall, right? Within the roof's leaking. So we haven't put a lot aside for some of those projects. And so that'll probably be something we'll be talking about for budgeting is infrastructure and deferred maintenance on a number of our assets. So that's kind of just the overall economic picture as far as sales tax. I think we all know, you guys are probably going to tell us a similar story, that federal and state funding sources are not as robust as they used to be. And so I think that will bring some challenges as we're trying to do different projects, right? The grant money, we got a lot done. I mean, if we get the NRD funding, Gloria and I were talking about this the other day, in her tenure here, the town would have gotten $8 million in grant funding. Like that is huge, right? If we can just kind of celebrate that amount of spending in our community and investment. But that was also a time when the federal government was spending more money, and I don't think that's going to be the same case. So that's kind of the context. Anybody on the finance committee or Gloria, did you want to add anything else in terms of kind of economic budget forecasting context?
No, I think you covered it there. Yeah, we're just beginning our budget season, so haven't brought it to the full board yet.
Yes, thank you. And then I think the other piece with that is thinking about, you know, rates and infrastructure. As we said, we'll be needing to work on our USDA loan and paying that down, and then thinking about wastewater treatment plant. And the tricky part is that those are enterprise funds. So even if our sales tax revenue is good, we can't just transfer money from the general fund in to cover costs, right? Or to help keep rates down or something like that. So that's the tricky part, is when there's a price tag for a project, it still has to get paid for with all the rates that we collect. So that puts us all a little bit in a challenging position when.
We did get another rate study done
Yes.
through our financial advisor, so. When we're looking at the wastewater plant, they're like, it'd be good to have another rate study. Sadly, their conclusion was the same as the first one. We were hoping for a different answer, but.
Different numbers. Yeah.
Just keep hiring somebody until they give you the.
They give you the number you want. Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
And I think when it comes, kind of thinking a couple priority things, you know, you were bringing up, Austin, as far as budget. I think deferred maintenance is probably going to be a bit on our list. We continue to invest in affordable housing, right? Like through Ann's position, we had a long conversation about just the sustainability of that and how to fund it. But affordable housing, I think, remains a top capacity and budget priority, and infrastructure. And then economic development is kind of something we haven't talked about in a little bit. It's kind of been kicking along. We have San Juan Development Association. We have a number of events that come to town. But I think I would love to pitch having some more conversations with you guys around kind of, well, what is our collective economic development strategy? We haven't really revisited it in a while. And obviously we rely heavily on tourism. And so helping to see how we invest in that, like, does that mean we're investing in events? And, you know, the philosophy in town hall has probably changed over different boards on how much money we spend on different events or positions that support events, and kind of the revenue generation that comes from those. What's the status on Silverton Development Association, sort of their strategy for economic development? Are we diversifying in any way? I mean, we see industrial buildings getting sold. So what happens to those local manufacturers? So I just have lots of questions that I think this body could be useful in brainstorming at a future meeting of like, okay, we're a small community. And where my mind goes is a lot of properties are for sale. Those could be purchased by second homeowners and continue a trend of kind of like lack of diversification in our economic base here. And so I think it would be interesting with this group of smart people to think about, where do we go from here? What's our 10-year plan for economic development and sustainable? You know, the people in our community can't pay for childcare, right? And so what does it look like? Can't pay for housing. What does it look like to have stable incomes, stable employment, affordable housing, affordable childcare, and a viable future for people that want to build a life here. So economic development comes to my mind for how we're investing it and what does it look like for our collective group. Yeah. So anything else from colleagues on the budget side and kind of prioritization, and anything to bring up too of like, hey, this could be an issue we really could work on together. And I do want to, I'm going to aim that we're done by 7. Does everybody feel like that's a good target?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Lily's probably got a better start on our economic picture. And some, you've got all the numbers in front of you, so I'm gonna let you.
Sure, you guys might be facing,
Yeah, about just some of the economic stuff that we've got going. Well, the budget, you know, we can talk about economic development. I've actually been thinking a lot about economic development at the county level, and with all the economic development support that we provide for the county, realistically, the benefit we provide back is mostly for the town. More for the town than it is for the county. A lot of our mechanisms for funding property tax and things like that, more, you know, are a reflection of the town's economic status and what's happening. And we focus a lot more, I think, on that health, safety, welfare part of provide. I was thinking about it in terms of Baker's Park, writing it today, and just, you know, that investment on the county side really is into the health, welfare of members of our community, but the economic development really comes back to the town. Not that we're, you know, the town is the county and the county is the town. So,
right. Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of a lot of our shared kind of, you know, overlap, economic developments is kind of a tricky one that I've been thinking about. It's kind of a hard one to pin down for the county right now for me.
First, just a quick question, you know, talking about the affordability and economic development, et cetera. Did you all get a copy of the Region 9 livable wage report? Okay, because there's a lot of good information in that. But just to kind of give you an overall picture of where I'm going to be coming from as far as county budget goes is, I mean, you mentioned that with the feds and the state, we're not going to see a very robust amount of revenue coming in. My concern is that not only are we not going to see the income coming in, but we're going to see our expenditures go up, because as everything rolls downhill, as the feds have cut off funding to the state is cutting off funding to us, but the mandates are going to be there for us to continue to provide those, especially social services, childcare, public health,
education,
and so
fire code.
So yeah, I mean, I see our expenditures going up, not based on increasing any programs, but just maintaining current levels. The state did pass legislation last year, that puts a limit on the increase of revenue from property tax. They decreased it from 5.5% to 5.25%. We were essentially debruced or Tabor exempt from those increases. If we want to be exempt, once again, we have to put an issue on the ballot, which we are discussing to receive that exemption. Part of the problem is we won't even know what some of these assessed rates are going to be and how the values are going to be until after we have to decide if we want to get on the ballot or not. But we potentially are looking at, I won't call it a loss in revenue, but well, it is a loss. I mean, without the exemption, with an exemption, we could generate somewhere between $75,000 to $150,000 in additional revenue. That if we don't have that exemption, we won't be able to. And that, you know, when you're talking about public health and daycare and some of these critical issues, that money could be pretty helpful. In addition, the Secure Rural Schools funding, which is essentially federal dollars that pays counties for times when there was forestry or other economic development on the forest land. And it's called Secure Rural Schools because half of that actually goes to the school district. And that was not reauthorized last year. So that cost both the county and the school about $60,000 each. We as Austin talked about the road issues, we actually transferred $100,000 of our sales tax revenue into road and bridge to boost that fund up so that we can address those issues. And county sales taxes, you know, 100,000 is just about half of our sales tax. I mean, we generate a whole lot less in sales tax than the town does. So yeah, we're, you know, I mean, we're not in
Squeezed? You're feeling squeezed.
you know, we're not in panic mode or a critical situation. But in part because we have been pretty conservative. But I think we have to be real cautious because I think it'd be real easy for us to find ourselves in a bad situation trying to pick up all these costs that we don't even know what they're going to be and loss of revenue. And so yeah, I'm not concerned. Well, I won't say I'm not concerned, but I'm not overly concerned about getting through the next year. I think we're pretty good, but I'm just not real comfortable with what's coming next. So, and the unfunded mandates. I mean, you know, there's just, you know, the state really was, you know, and I won't argue whether they were right or wrong, but they were spent a lot of time coming up with situations that local government has to deal with and not putting any money to it, just saying, do this, do this, do this. And
you can put deadlines on it.
yeah, and in fact, I'm not so sure about, well, actually, I do know at the last Region 9 meeting, we also have the COG meeting, Council of Local Government, and there was several municipal and county governments that really want to coordinate a pushback effort on the mandates that the state are putting on us, because it's just, especially the small, you know, small governments, we're just getting beat up and we don't have the resources.
Were there any in particular that were really painful in the region of the unfunded mandates? Were there any that rose to the top of common complaints?
You know, I think it was just the number of them. Yeah, I don't think anybody was saying, oh, this, you know, this one is ridiculous, or this one, you know, what were they thinking? But it's just, you know, one after the other. And you know, we're rewriting, and I know you guys just went through a code update, but we're working on rewriting our code to meet all the requirements that the state has put in that are now mandated on us. You know, the fire resiliency plan, not necessarily that it's a bad thing, but it's just, and you know, when you have one person offices and you're already busy, if you got to spend, you know, 10 hours a week on putting something together when you know, you're already don't have that 10 hours, it means something else falls by the wayside, or you hire more staff.
Or you hire more staff, right?
You don't have funding.
Yeah, exactly. I think reporting requirements, just all the hoops we have to jump through. Yeah.
I'll put one out there for unfunded mandates. That's pretty rough for us to deal with, is increasing election costs. The security regarding elections and having cameras and things like that. We have applied and gotten some funding, but man, it becomes just a bigger and bigger issue all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the cost for an election for 700 voters or
Yeah.
it's a crazy dollar amount and and it's not that nobody, we don't want to make sure we have a safe and fair election, but it's like it just gets ridiculous.
Yeah. Question for you, going back to economic development and just thinking of land and stuff. Can you guys talk a little bit? Because I don't think I'm as familiar with it as I'd like to be, as kind of the land that the county owns from the settlement and like dreams, hopes. What do you guys hope for? Or is it too early to talk about, or just some context about where's the land, what's the land, and what do you hope for it?
Can we finish the kind of the budget stuff? Willie kind of had a chance, but I'd like to give these guys an opportunity if they had anything to add to that budget picture before, but we can definitely talk about our hopes and dreams for that. And just, I had a couple things and I want to give you guys an opportunity if you guys had anything else you wanted to say for our budget picture.
Are we comfortable with the splits we're doing as far as ambulance, sheriff, all that? Are we comfortable with those splits still? I guess that's one of my questions.
Well, maybe we should have, as Gloria and Willie get further into the budget, then, I mean, I imagine we're definitely gonna have another budget meeting, right? I would think in that. What is the guys' preference? Should we have it earlier in the cycle? I don't know, Will, if you have any thoughts on this, of how we've done it in the past or what's worked well, of when we should have kind of joint town and county budget meeting.
I was kind of thinking, anywhere from mid-September to mid-October is probably our realm, which seems close, but since we haven't had a ton of our quarterly meetings, I figure we get to meet again pretty close.
Yeah, I would love that, actually, just have a separate meeting that we really dive into the budgets.
Yeah. I had just a couple other things in addition to kind of our financial picture too. We had a big expenditure in the last year from our assessor's office because the software that we had been using basically went unsupported. So the treasurer's office and the assessor's office were using the same software from the same company. And then basically they stopped supporting the assessor's website to the point where it became unfunctional for our assessor to use. And what did that end up costing us? Was it around $8? Well, it continues to cost us. But changing over from a system was an extraordinary cost.
And we're still paying for the old system because it was financed.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The treasurer is still using it because they don't, the system that the assessor took doesn't have a good program for the treasurer. So she kept on the old system. But so we just are taking a hit on software.
I think we were looking at a dollar amount of around 70 that year. And then we continued to think it was going to cost us somewhere between 30 and 40 every year extra, basically, which is kind of a hard pill to swallow for us in terms of those offices. And then when we were talking about property taxing and debrucing and all that's all related to property tax stuff. Every meeting we talk about it. What's it going to be this time? Is it going to be 200,000? Is it going to be more that we're going to be in a shortfall? I think the number that we had at the last meeting and that moving target was we were thinking if we don't have a ballot initiative and that's passed, we were thinking that property tax revenues only going to decrease about $60,000 to $70,000 this round so far. But that's just a target that has moved all over the place for us.
And again, we have individuals, homeowners, et cetera, property owners complaining about fees and taxes and et cetera. So on the individual basis, right, there's complaints about that, but then the way it affects the county and the town and the services that people also want,
Yeah.
That's where it's a challenge for folks.
And I'm sure you guys feel the same shared expenditure woes from Public Works as we feel for road and bridge, to everything from gas to
All
tires and parts and
gravel.
kinds of things, gravel, culverts, labor, everything has just gone. And that's when Willie talks about, we gave road and bridge an extra $100,000. This is, I think, the first, last year, I think it was the first year that we were like, gonna see our general fund, reserve go up into a level. Because before, every year, just the tone, Scott, I always remember in our budget meetings, when we're approving our budget is, are you comfortable with our reserve going that low?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? And we're like, it'll be okay for another year, but next year, we're gonna have to see how that goes. And this is the first year, I think, in my memory as a commissioner, where last year was the first year in my memory as a commissioner, where it was like a sigh of relief that we watched the number and the reserve go up.
But that's changed. I mean, our assessed values went up and we saw that money rolling in. And now the state says, oh, you can't take in that much.
Yeah.
And truthfully, I've always harped, you have rising costs, so you have to do something. And that was raise the mill levy, which we didn't have to do because this assessed value went up, but we haven't raised the mill levy in 30 years.
Yeah, forever.
I mean, we've, even though our costs are going up, and that's just a reality check. It's like, if you have raising costs, you gotta bring in that revenue, like you guys did with landfill, water and sewers. You have to be realistic.
Well, it's super painful when it isn't done incrementally over time. I mean, that's the hard part. It's like you're forced with abrupt, hard costs.
Property tax.
Yeah.
What's interesting is our revenue from property tax for 2025, when adjusted for inflation, is almost equal to what it was in 2008 before the recession impacted the values. That was kind of our high spot, and it's taken that long for us to get back up to that level.
Yeah, the county's been climbing that hill. So this is the first year, or last year, and then coming into this year, this is the first year where it's felt like it's a level playing ground, instead of trying to climb our way back uphill out of the hole.
Yeah. But then back to the economic development question. So that's the property values and assessed values. But if you're new trying to come in here, are salaries low? Are people able to have salaries have not kept pace with those costs? So you're just sort of stuck.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Pete, is anything from you on budget stuff what keeps you up at night?
More the boots on the ground guy when it comes to that, being the road commissioner stuff. We have experienced, we had to put out some money for a new excavator, a new skid steer and things that we kind of needed, but we went out there and we found a good government rate and we got it done, so I really don't have any big budget things.
The other one, and when he's mentioning equipment that I remember was the renewing our lease for our graders, for those John Deere graders. The cost doubled to keep our same.
That kind of ambushed us. Yeah.
That was a hard one to swallow.
Line them with gold? What happened here?
Yeah,
just contracts and things going around and
interest rates rising, things like that. It all trickles down to us.
Even just the time, like.
And heavy equipment is amazing too.
Yeah.
Just like everything else.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure John could.
The only other thing that I just kind of wanted to say regarding our kind of budget status and things like that is just that our county employees, other than our elected officials, because those are unfunded mandates, every time we have an election, the state dictates what those pay rates are for our county. But a lot of our county employees did not get cost of living increases or raises for a very long time. And just when we look at our budget, and we look at these increased asks for services and things like that, I just want to be really careful not to leave our county employees, behind, because they're the backbone of the work that we have and I just, we look really hard, and I'm already getting questions from our, from our employees, are we gonna see cost of living increases this year, or is it gonna stay stagnant? Are we gonna have the money to fund that? And the answer right now, realistically, is we don't know. We'll have to see how far down these cuts come for property tax and some of these other things that we're talking about for sure. But yeah, the Sunnyside acquisition for properties, Sunnyside acquired about 1,100 acres, I think, is the total number. Is about right? Or am I misspeaking here?
I couldn't tell you right now.
I think it's 1,100 acres.
I think you're right, but
Yeah.
without looking at it,
To me, this whole thing, I mean, we want to get into this, but we haven't even taken our own tour of.
Oh, yeah,
all
we
the
haven't
properties.
yet. No, we haven't.
So it's kind of premature we all have wish and dream lists, but we need to go look at the property first and.
Maybe don't even talk about wish and dreams. Just tell all of us what you got and where it is.
I think one of the biggest things is the tailings ponds.
Uh-huh.
I mean, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have touched them with a 10-foot pole, but I think we have, this is such a good agreement with EPA as far as not being held liable for these big tailings ponds, but some of the best flat country
Yeah.
in this county right now. So there's all kinds of potential from as you guys have talked about, solar, storage, just storage units, storage of vehicles, ATV parking, all kinds of different things. I mean, you are limited in some ways as far as you're not gonna be digging basements or things like that in.
Or probably putting affordable housing there.
Right, but there's lots of ideas as far as that, how do you implement them, again, you're gonna have to do a grant process, to put solar in or something like that, so. But that's one of our most developable areas as far as potential. What you do with some of the stuff out in the county, all the stuff that's up high, I think that you're not gonna do anything with that, especially the stuff in the tundra. We do have the liability of maintenance as far as some of the, well, I mean, I think DRMS will help us, but there are mine closures that have happened in some of these areas that will eventually deteriorate or have already deteriorated or been broken into or anything like that. So we do have that ongoing thing, but we have to know. I mean, I have a pretty good idea, but we still have to know where all this stuff is, so we know if we even just have liabilities. Could you use some of the land that's close in the town, for some type of development? Affordable housing, anything like that. It doesn't have to be just the tailings ponds or anything like that, so. Truthfully, we just need to know what we got.
Yeah,
Take inventory and survey it.
absolutely.
we did acquire some of the property that was adjacent to the campground in Eureka that Sunnyside owned. So we got that. But yeah, for the most part, it's the tailings pond and pretty much everything else.
There's even property right next to the Silverton Lakes campground.
Yes.
That they have.
That's right. Property there. It's all kind of floodplain, but
Yeah.
plain is
Yeah.
buildable property potentially or valuable for public use and then there's the majority of the property I feel pretty confident in saying is all, mining claim kind of property that is in areas that may not be ever developable or buildable. And for that property, I think we discussed that, even that property has value of potentially, if we need to trade the BLM for land, maybe the BLM eventually would be interested in trading that property up there for protection, for something closer to town that we could utilize for affordable housing or develop.
It's valuable. Any land the county owns, any land the town owns, it's still valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's,
Yeah.
the
Do a
majority
trade with the BLM.
doctors thought about.
Just to make things more accessible.
Right.
And our plans are to actually do a site visit of the property so that everybody's got a good idea of what we're looking at and what's out there and,
We'll notice it as a public meeting, so if any of you guys want to come along, we'll.
Yeah.
Better luck with BLM and swaps we have.
Right now.
What do you do, Tyler?
It's gone on for the 20 years.
It's far longer than that, I think.
I mean, when I sat down with.
Well, I've been part of it.
Yeah,
You were.
yeah, you're probably on.
My very meeting, you know, or I think where we talked about our goals and aspirations for town board. On town board, well, his wife Chris was the mayor, and she said, my only goal is to finish the RNPP, the transfer of property. And that was, she said she'd been working on it her entire time as a board member and as the mayor, and it's still not done.
You want to get real? Yeah. You want to get real old? I wasn't even on the board back then. So it hasn't been done.
I mean, I sat down with Molly Brilla and said, okay, Molly, tips on being on the board, went on. She's like, get that RMPP done. I was like, oh, there's a theme here. Okay.
It's hard to do. And even in today's times, it's now even worse because they're so short staffed as far as being able to even work on something, and it's not a priority to them. Other priorities.
Anthony are getting us close.
Maybe close.
Yeah, we're
Close.
I thought we were close before.
closer. Couldn't be out that.
I actually put together the first project request or
Wow.
proposal back in, it was 2000.
Wow.
25.
Almost.
We actually had a celebration over at Kendall Mountain with Mark Stiles of the Forest Service. At the time, Forest Service and BLM were interchangeable up here. They and actually had a celebration because it was all done other than signing on the line and
Here we are.
we keep changing. Well, we went from it was called Service First. So it didn't matter if it was BLM person or Forest Service in this district, they would work with you. Well, that worked too well, so they didn't like that idea. So they quit that, and then they moved BLM to the Tres Rios field office in Forest. So new people we had to deal with. We had to put together a whole new plan because those people wanted it differently than what was previously requested. Then the state director came in and said, well, I'm going to make things better. We're going to put you over in the Gunnison field office. So we got a whole new set of people and their interpretations of the rules and regulations. So the town had to redo another set of plans. And it's like, oh yeah, we're always this close.
And you have
I think it's going to happen. Everybody keeps guaranteeing that it's.
It's an exercise in perseverance.
But yeah, talk about, well.
You know what would,
I mean, I know we got other things to talk about, but there are graves outside the fence at the cemetery that was on BLM land. It took us 13 years to get that project done. And BLM wanted to make sure that they weren't dealing with the cemetery. I mean, it was something that they really was pushing for, and it still took 13 years.
well, maybe what we should do is if and when it gets done, an invitation should go out to every person that has ever been on a board that worked on the RFP, and we should, yeah, have it done. Yeah.
No, it's going to happen.
Eventually. Eventually, yeah. Anything else from colleagues, questions, things you want to bring up, priorities that are on your mind, or things you want to make sure we address?
So I wonder if we can schedule that work session now, so we get it in the books for.
I think, let's leave it up to Gloria with timing on budget. Yeah, Gloria, go ahead. You're here.
Yeah, I can reach out. I think the best time for me and us, and knowing that I'm going to be out for a couple of weeks, mid-September, October would be like mid-October if that is too late. But I can send out a doodle poll to everyone and see where we land.
That'd be great.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's really important.
And Jim, you've been online, so I never want to neglect you. If you had anything you wanted to add or contribute, you good? Okay, great.
I got just a little teeny thing. Does anybody here have a problem with how bad the dump looks?
Yeah.
Maybe we should have a separate work session on refuse management.
Because there is, you know,
That could,
grant.
I could-
A teeny tiny thing.
Yep.
I mean, come on, Scott, 2 minutes.
That is a mutual county town thing since we own land, but it's gotten
We
really.
could have a separate one on just refuge management, especially with the new potential grant funding that we can get.
Are you guys open
to
to
help with
another
that.
meeting?
big trash could be
I was
An
gonna say that
hour-long
any
discussion.
work session on a specific item too, even if you guys are having it just as part of your regular agenda meeting and you'd like us to attend, like
Yeah, that's
we'd be
a good
happy
idea.
to have, you know, like
Great idea. And
the Silverton Family Learning Center, we would love to invite you guys to come and participate in those sessions. And if you guys are having refuse discussions as part of your meetings or having a work session, we'd love to be there for it.
that'd be great.
Because it's utility, the public utility committee meeting too, would probably be good because we're gonna discuss like some EQR refinement and metering.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
probably that next one too will be important.
Yeah.
Because I think you guys bring insight. You're also longtime residents and many of you have sat on this board as well. So I think ways we can share expertise and perspective and experience is great.
Yeah, we don't want to be part of the EQR or the rate setting. We'll just. Yeah, we.
I mean, that's been really fun.
Property tax high and we'll work on keeping rates high and everybody will just love us.
Love us all, you betcha.
It's hard work we do here, guys. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for your time. It's really great to get everybody here. I'm kind of shocked that we have everybody in attendance. So thanks to everybody for making it happen. And hopefully this was helpful. I think it is good to kind of have informal stuff, but hopefully people still thought it was, useful and
Yeah.
got some stuff out there. A couple of takeaways I heard following up on the fire ordinance and making sure that we're kind of on the same page for that. And so Bevan can work with Willie and Gloria on when that needs to be on our agendas. And then a joint budget session. But again, maybe getting through budget season, but it would be great to have some discussions, I think, around refuse and some of the social healthcare, childcare, social services related stuff and economic development. And affordable housing remains top priorities. So everything, just the little things, the essential functions of government.
Definitely remind anybody you see that stage 2 fire restrictions means you cannot smoke outside.
Oh, yeah.
Abused big time still, so.
and
And I wonder if people are out there cutting wood in the county, would cut and see too.
Say that again.
Like for people, have you noticed if anyone's like illegally cutting wood out there, collecting wood?
You can.
oh yeah, the backcountry.
But you can cut wood if you have a fire extinguisher, a spark
Yeah.
tester and a shovel with you.
36-inch handle.
Say again.
Yeah.
Has to have a 36-inch handle at least.
I mean, is everyone following that?
But yeah, but certainly people out there cutting
Yeah.
firewood, are probably not
Exactly.
following the rules. In fact, that was part of stage 1. And when stage 1 came across, I was like, well, I was cutting firewood in BLM stage 1 restrictions when they went in, but I didn't know that we were even in stage 1 for BLM at the time either. So it was like, okay, it was like the day it went into effect. And it's like, okay, now on.
Were you smoking while you're using your?
You have to know.
Yeah, yeah.
The order, obviously you can stay around, chat, grab some snacks, but anything else burning from anybody or
This is great.
Thank you.
guys, good to see you. Yeah. All right, the time is 7:02 and we will adjourn.
There's pickup basketball at the school. Anyone wants to come join me right now? I got my change of